Hello, I am going live to do an astrology talk with Joanna. We are going to be talking about Jupiter into Taurus, which is coming up. There's Joanna and viewing request. Go. Joanna, are you there? Joanna? Excited to talk about Jupiter.
Hi.
Hi,
Hi.
how's it going?
It's really good. I'm ready. I'm ready for this transition. We're just a few more days, right? It's coming soon.
Yeah, it is. It's just a few days away. It's May 16th that Jupiter makes its move, 10:20 a.m. on the West Coast. Um, yeah, so we're getting very close. And but in the meantime, I guess right before, Jupiter does have to do that 29th degree of Aries, which we've become so familiar with,
Yeah,
right?
it's that eclipse degree that we just had a few weeks ago. So,
It is the eclipse degree.
I mean, do you, what do you feel like is amplified? I mean, it's in the window right now. Jupiter is at 28 degrees, almost at 29. So it'll be there for a few days, sort
Mhm.
of wrapping up this quick sprint really through Aries over the last month.
I have to say, if we look at, and I don't have the exact what happened in front of me, but I do recall that Venus at 29 Aries and Mercury at 29 Aries were big, significant moments, aside from that eclipse at 29 Aries. So 29 Aries has been a very volatile point this year. And I mean, and Jupiter, the planet of grace and good fortune, which I'm so excited that we're having this talk because I feel like Jupiter moving into Taurus is bringing in some really great astrology when we've been having such challenging astrology, but we do have to get over that final hump of the 29th
Yeah.
degree. And and if you go back and look at all the talks we've had, I mean, Jupiter going into Aries, I mean, it's just been this big violence, you know, there's been big, it's kind of expanded. It's been a Mars ruled Jupiter. So it's really expanded a lot of Martian themes. In Aries, it's been fiery, it's been combative, it's been war, it's been gun violence, mass shootings. It's so, and then, you know, and then Mars moving, and then, yeah, Mars has been in a weird position too as the ruler of Jupiter. So we've been going through all of that. And so I think that once Jupiter finally does make that move into Taurus, this is going to be a welcome shift in the energy of the benefic, the great benefic, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And it's interesting because when Jupiter is in Taurus, it'll be ruled by Venus in Cancer. So
Right. Which
instead, which is nice. I mean, it's certainly a lot calmer energy than what we've been, as you pointed out, what we've been used to. I mean, there's just been this, certainly for in the US here, it's just been this acceleration and amplification of the anger that people have and the fear and the like the lashing out and
yeah,
the sort of this, a lot of it again has been this, the excuse has been like, well, I'm just protecting my stuff, you know, which is kind of that Mars and Cancer, the home. They're protecting
mm-hmm.
their environment. They're trying to hold on to some semblance of safety. Um,
Mm-hmm.
my personal opinion is very misguided. But now we're kind of moving out of that. And
Yeah,
so,
yeah. And the other thing about Jupiter in Aries was the conjunction with Chiron. So it was also expanding the wound. And I know in a lot of in people's personal lives, it had to do with, you know, maybe physical sickness or wounds. For some people, financial wounds. For some people, relational wounds. For the collective, I mean, you know, certainly in America, I mean, the whole world is dealing with wounds, but I mean, here, I think again, it was that this violence thing, yeah, this gun violence, this anger, and you know. obviously the racism, the homophobia, the attack on women's rights. It's been a very, yeah. And so, and it's not that those issues are going away, but with Jupiter's shift into Taurus, and I think that there was also a lot of great things about Jupiter and Aries too. I don't want to just like completely, dump on Jupiter and Aries. I mean, it was the beginning of a new Jupiter cycle because Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, right? So it's the beginning of a new 12-year cycle in the Jupiter journey. And so there was a lot of seed planting during that era of that period where we may not have started to see the results of those seeds that were being planted in that Aries energy. But Taurus is Taurus is the earth, and it's time to like till the ground and like water the seeds and cultivate and like slow down and like, really kind of get into this. And so Jupiter moving from a Mars ruled sign to a Venus ruled sign. I love the great benefic and the sign of the lesser benefic, but it just feels like there's a lot of grace here.
A lot. And I think too, again, as you're saying, it's like going from the fire energy into an earth energy. It's really bringing this home and manifesting on a much more personal, practical, individual level, like more in the body now, instead of this just like rush to judgment and rush to anger and like aggressive, fast, and with no, in many ways, no destination necessarily in mind. And now it's kind of coming home in a very much more of a feminine way as well, more receptive, more open. And one thing I do want to say though, because when it does hit 0 Taurus, we're going to have a square to Pluto.
Yeah.
So there's death here in a way as well. There's something, as we were saying, like getting out of that 29th degree and into the first zero.
An square at the 29th degree. So we're already going to be feeling, even though Aries and Aquarius are more complementary by element, that 29th degree is technically by degree. And then when it shifts, yes, the very first moment of Jupiter and Taurus, the very first aspect it makes is to Pluto, which is retrograde now at 0 Aquarius. So here we have Pluto at 0 Aquarius, the beginning of the new world, squaring Jupiter, this grace and good fortune that's coming in Taurus. And I see again, and I feel like we may have talked about this a little bit last time, but it's like, I think that the entry of Jupiter into Taurus starts out with this, the square angle. It's a challenge. It's a conflict requiring action. But I feel like with Aquarius and Taurus, it's like a conflict between Taurus stuff, which is the real stuff, the earth, the body, the realness, what's real, and then Aquarius, the AI, the future, technology, or Aquarius is also being so in our heads, whereas Taurus is about being in the body. So I feel like that square is like we immediately, as Jupiter is stepping into Taurus, are going to start like there's going to be an attention on those values, because Taurus is our values as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's a longer, obviously a longer transit, like Jupiter and Pluto as well. But certainly I think that there's been this sort of opening of humanity, Pluto moving into Aquarius, and as it's moving backwards into Capricorn to pick up a little bit more of that, old world or the authority element and, more restrictions potentially. But Jupiter moving into Taurus, it's got a lot more. We have to ask what is meaningful for all of us as individuals. And we really have to answer these questions. The other thing that I think is fascinating, and I don't know how much work I would put this with this Jupiter Pluto square, although, because I was reading about it and someone was like, well, this is an eclipse thing, is that today Elon Musk said that he's going to give up his CEO position at Twitter and he's bringing in a new CEO. And that's one of those, Twitter is, it feels very Aquarian to me. I mean, it's the grand social network, right? It's like bringing all of people from all around the world together in general culture, individual subcultures. It's like how people meet, it's our digital.
Well, Pluto is billionaires, and Pluto is stationing retrograde, so he may be back when Pluto gets back to Aquarius.
But it's gonna, it's hard to
eye on old Elon.
Yeah, but I think too, like with him taking over Twitter, it really has been this whole thing of like, how do we communicate with one another? And again, this AI and all of that, but also with Jupiter now in Taurus, it's like, what are our values around all of this? And how do we move forward together in harmony that means something that we all have some integrity and morality and within this AI universe?
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. And what I love about what's built into the zodiacal order is how each sign is always kind of making a little bit of an adjustment or a correction from the sign before it. And like Jupiter moving into Taurus from Aries is like, yes, slow down, and I feel like there's this little reprieve in the air. And I think that also like with Jupiter and Aries, like things got so crazy and the world is literally on fire, right? And so now with Jupiter coming into Taurus, I feel like there's this sense of like, yes, the world is on fire. There is a lot of crazy shit going on out there. But how do I create within my world something that is very real and cozy? And like the Taurus is about the simple pleasures, just bringing it back down to the really basic, like food and shelter and like, spending time in nature, even if that's just lying out on your grass for 30 minutes looking up at the clouds in the sky, but like just connecting to that simplicity and finding joy in that. And I see an expansion there. Like I see a lot of blessings and gratitude in that space and cultivating that space for people. And of course, depending on where Jupiter is transiting in your chart, that's why it's always really good to know your own personal astrology. Call me for a reading if you want. We can look at Jupiter and Taurus in your chart. But like, obviously for you, it's the first house, which is very personal. We talked about like, you may gain 5 pounds. I'm just kidding.
Jupiter right? So it amplifies, it opens, it's
baselines sometimes. But like, no, if it's going through the first house or the 6th house, those are really houses of the body. And so it can have to do with your physical appearance, or it can have to do with, it's more personal, your thought process, what you look like, your body, your health. But in general, it's a happy transit, if it's in your 2nd and 8th house, it could be financial. In fact, the other thing is as soon as it enters, it's forming a conjunction with the North Node in Taurus. I mean, it's going to be applying to the conjunction as soon as it enters at 0, but then it's going to actually, I think, what is the date of the exact conjunction? Is it May 19th?
The third degree.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll find it. Here we go. It is May 30th. May 30th. Oh no.
Hello?
Okay, I'm back.
Are we okay?
Yeah, we're
okay.
It froze. One of us froze.
Oh, okay. So yeah, so June 1st is the or May 30th, June 1st. Conjunction with the North Node. If that's in one of your financial houses, like the 2nd house or the 8th house, that could be a huge windfall or some kind of like investments like blooming, or really nice, something for a lot of abundance financially on that axis. And then, you know, it's different. It's like if it's in the house, the ninth house, it might be more of a spiritual experience or a travel experience. If it's in the 11th house, it would have to do with an expansion of your friend group or network. But they're still around these Taurian vibes. I still think about like this real life experiences, you know?
Yeah. And also we've been talking a lot in the yoga, using activating the sensory system, which is very aligned with Taurus and Venus. And just again, as you kind of mentioned, in terms of, you know, feeling your feet on the earth, and like you really literally
Yeah.
like fall into your senses, not just, you know, the main five, but add in the sixth sense, like add in your intuitive faculties and see where you can align with a higher energy source. Because again, we're using all of our talents and gifts in Taurus, and Jupiter is expanding all of this, and we have way more capacity than we believe. And I think that this is a part of our opportunity to expand into those gifts and to expand into this, our sensory world, and to really feel into our own physical bodies and into relating with other people, and really hone in on just the manifestation of our experience here on Earth. Very, very visceral, I feel, this transit. And to your point, definitely you want to know what house it's going through, because that's going to give you the theme of it. And also you can look back, Eliane, as you and I both were, you know, Taurus, or Jupiter was in Taurus June of 2011. So from June 2011 to June 2012 was the last time that Jupiter was transiting through Taurus. So go back, look at your calendars, look at your emails. That's what I did. My calendar is blank, but I looked in my emails, and I had a lot of really interesting creative events happen to me in that year in 2011, particularly in June when all of this kind of began. And that was a really
do be a very creative aspect, because it's a Venus ruled Jupiter, and Venus is the goddess of, you know, love, beauty, but also art. And you know, for me, like in the 12th house, I do feel that kind of like expansion of the inner world, you know, and that's the world where creativity happens, where when, you know, where you're writing or you're formulating your ideas, or you're pulling it from, you know, whatever, wherever we get it to here. I feel all of that coming in that Jupiter and Venus space. So if you have it in something like the 12th house or 8th house, it can be more like that. It really, the flavor does change depending on the house, but it sticks with these Taurian themes of like these kinds of sensory experience, what we can see and feel and hear and touch, and yeah, real life nature. But also Taurus has the side that's like money and investments and that kind of thing as well.
so Jupiter will be in Taurus for 1 year. It's going to go retrograde.
Before we talk about the
Yeah.
retrograde, I wanted to just to go in order. Well, okay, it enters the shadow of its retrograde June 11th, I believe.
Okay.
But it doesn't actually go retrograde until September 4th. But before that, June 19th, I think, is the sextile with Saturn, which I think is an important and interesting aspect to look at in the journey, because it's really the first time that Jupiter and Saturn are having a direct aspect since the Great Conjunction at 0 degrees Aquarius in 2020. Right? I don't think that I mean, they may have, did they have a conjunction
Wait,
they may have had in Pisces, right? When Jupiter was or did that ever happen? Because Jupiter went back and forth. Anyway, now they're in the sextile with Saturn in Pisces and Jupiter in Taurus, which is earth and water. And you know, I think that this is very fertile for it's bringing structure to something that we're growing in our life, into something, you know, I feel like it's a really good aspect for creating a strong foundation. This Jupiter and Taurus period, I think, is it's slow moving. It requires patience, and cultivating, like, and tilling the soil and growing the
Yeah.
garden, you know, because
Yeah. And also, I mean, Saturn can get lost in Pisces, right? I mean, that Pisces is like, again, that spiritual world that, you know, we're out in the ethers creating and concepting and full of our dreams and illusions. And, you know, Jupiter and Taurus is bringing it back down to earth, as you said, but maybe there is part of that dream that needs some grounding, that needs expansion, but in a real way. Otherwise, you don't have anything to hang on to. It'll just evaporate.
yes,
Or it'll turn and it'll go dark, you know, which you don't
absolutely.
want.
Absolutely. So I think it's a positive aspect for bringing form to the dream, bringing form to whatever our Piscean endeavors are. Um, and yeah, so I like that. It's an encouraging transit. And then the retrograde happens September 4th, I believe, right?
Yeah, and it's at retrogrades at 15 degrees.
And so
So yeah.
and then it won't go direct until the last day of the year, right? Like December
Yeah.
30th. So so the ground that Jupiter covers from June 11th to September 4th, we will be going back over from September 4th to December 30th. And so I feel like it's this, like, very, like, slow expansion where it's this Taurian, like, really putting the care and the cultivation and the patience and the nurturing and the growing. And
All right. And listen to this though. Mercury is currently retrograde right now, and the retrograde uh, degrees were 5 to 15 Taurus. And Jupiter is going to retrograde those exact same degree points, 5 to 15 Taurus. So very, very, if you are paying attention and you want to track this and see what's going to happen, really pay attention now to this Mercury retrograde period. We're still in it a few more days. Or I should say it's retrograde.
exploration of our values.
Yeah.
And growing our life in a new direction based on, you know, this reexamination, this reexamination of our values that Mercury in retrograde brought. And then here comes Jupiter to kind of, like, start, you know, growing and creating foundations based on this. And yeah, so
Yeah, I think very important also of, like, if things have come up now during this Mercury retrograde period that you're working out, try and get it right, because Jupiter is going to come along and expand it even more. So if you're stuck in some loop where you need to resolve a conflict, for example, or you don't have a defined set of values, or somebody's taken you off track or led you down a garden path that's not authentic or real, or, you know, some manifestation has gotten stuck in some kind of, like, you know, limiting belief or subconscious thought form of, like, you know, money doesn't grow on trees. Well, money 100% does grow on trees. Let's just remember that, you know? So, and
a couple trees money grows on.
yeah. So let's, you know, because Jupiter's going to make it more. It's going to open us up to a deeper level of knowledge as well of whatever these themes are. It's going to occur in the exact same location in all of our natal charts. It's really fascinating to see.
Yeah. Yes. And what other big
Oh, frozen again.
I'm sorry. I was looking at I mistakenly put the dates in the notes on the phone, so I can only, like, I should have put them somewhere where I could. Anyway, April. So it's all leading up to April 20th, 2024. I mean, I'm going out there, but that's the big Jupiter Uranus
And
conjunction.
is the 1 year later from April 20th this year, when we had the eclipse at 29 Aries.
And so that eclipse, Jupiter conjunct Uranus, I think is very exciting.
Yeah.
And then yeah, and then there's one more big aspect with it next year. Oh gosh.
I don't know off the top of my head.
May 18th, the Jupiter cazimi. So April 20th is Jupiter conjunct Uranus. Very exciting breakthrough moment. And then yeah, and then the Jupiter cazimi will be May 18th, the luckiest day of the year, and then it'll move into Gemini, I think, on the so we've got a nice little journey with Jupiter in our Taurus house.
Yes, very good. This is going to be really. I'm looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm very glad that these eclipses have, calmed down a little bit. I mean, we have. There is still one more eclipse on the Taurus Scorpio axis that will happen on October 28th at 5 degrees. It's a lunar low. It's a solar eclipse. I'm totally blanking. No. Full moon eclipse. It's a full moon eclipse on October 28th. The moon in Taurus, 5 Taurus. But I have to see where Jupiter will be at that point. Hold on. Let's see. October 28th, Jupiter will be at 11. So not that, well, close enough, but not that close. Not right there, but still in the same sign. So potential amplification of that eclipse energy. We'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know. I'm looking forward to this transit. I think that I mean, and certainly, we also have to look at the fact that because it is a Venus ruled Jupiter, the tone changes from when Venus is in Cancer to when Venus goes into Leo. And Venus in Leo is one of the biggest stories of the summer. Because goes retrograde, and so it's going to be anyway, that'll be a different tone for Jupiter. I don't know, and it's interesting because like Pallas Athene kind of just entered Leo, and she's already there setting the stage and like strategizing before Venus gets there, but that's another story for video probably. But because it's Jupiter, Venus is Jupiter's ruler, it's making me like think about how that's gonna like shift the energy a little bit. It's still the benefics, but Venus is about to be on fire, like hot girl summer.
It definitely is a hot girl summer, absolutely. But for one, I think it's nice to just have a slightly different change of pace here with Venus in Cancer ruling that Jupiter in Taurus and getting out of the fire, getting out of the heat. And hopefully some of this violence will calm down a little bit.
Yeah, well, Venus being in Cancer also, I feel like, soothes Mars in Cancer a little bit. She's bonifying, having moved into Cancer, she's bonifying both of the malefics. She's bonifying Mars by being in the same sign, and she's bonifying Saturn by being, trine and the trine. So that's good. We needed a little relief here.
Yeah.
We did.
It's been very intense, and people are going a little nuts. Really, again, feel into your senses, feel into the sensory system, feel into the body, right? Feel into the earth, feel into the literally like the embodied experience of all of us in the 3D. And
food, Taurus is food, and what you're eating and what you're putting into your body. And I feel like it's more some people are going so far as to be growing their own food, but it's like just kind of like preparing your own meals, or making sure that you're just using like good ingredients, or just it's like it's paying more attention to what we're putting in our bodies, how we're taking care of our bodies, but also how we're taking care of the environment, like how we are relating to Mother Earth. And yes, I can't say enough, like what you were just talking about, but like putting your feet on the ground, on the actual earth. There's a term for it. I hear people are calling it earthing.
Yeah.
Just like, you know, like having your hands and your feet actually touch planet Earth and take in those electromagnetic, you know, currents.
There's a meditation that is called a meditation for harmonious communication, and the idea is you go up to a tree and you put your hands on the tree and you talk to the tree. Maybe you put, I'm not sure if you put your head on the, anyway, you touch the tree, you talk to the tree, you commune.
Tree huggers.
Yeah. Like, see what you're gonna learn, you know, like see what information that you get. You might get some like cosmic download about, again, all of these elements that we're talking about.
I hike every morning. I do my sunrise hike, and I mean, over time, you know, it's just like, yes, the nature does communicate with you, and there is a lot of wisdom in nature. Just like there's wisdom in books, there's wisdom in nature. And if you spend enough time just out there with the rocks and the mountains and the trees and the flowers and the clouds and the wind, it communicates a lot of wisdom. And it also it stabilizes your nervous system in a way. It connects you to, we are so disconnected as a culture from, you know, a world culture. I mean, in America certainly, but it's all over the world. Humanity is kind of like disconnected from nature, and it's causing a lot of anxiety and depression and chaos on the planet. I think, you know, human beings have gotten to think that they are supreme or separate from nature somehow, and we're suffering because of it. And I do believe that this Jupiter and Taurus transit over the next year gives people an opportunity to reclaim that very simple truth. I mean, it's like there's such simple ways that we can connect to nature too. It doesn't have to be necessarily, even though I like to go out on the hike or I like to go put my feet in the ocean. We're in Los Angeles, you know, once in a while, but like, again, even if it's just like laying on your grass looking at the clouds, you know, for 30 minutes or something, it's something to get away from the computer and the screen and from being indoors all the time, and connecting to Mother Earth and listening to her wisdom. And yeah, I think that that's really powerful for the Jupiter and Taurus transit. And I think that that square in that it enters with is posing that question to us. Like, are you just going to totally be fully into this digital AI virtual world? Or are you going to get your ass out there and be with real life, you know, and be with real people and have real embodied experiences? Like, because as the world is going more and more in that direction, it's like, I don't know, it's kind of, you know, we have to own that. We have to take that and create that and value that and make sure that that doesn't get lost in this, like, whatever's happening with the future that we're going towards. This AI, like, you got the godfather of AI quitting Google, being like, it's alive, like, you know, it's like, what are we gonna do, you know? But let's connect back to the realness, you know, bring it back to the realness, you know, because if everything goes out, like, I mean, and that could happen during the Pluto and Aquarius era. There could be a viral pandemic in the virtual world or something, and then what will we have? We'll have real life Taurus experiences. You know, so we can't lose that. We can't lose touch with that, because that's what it all comes back down to again, you know. I don't know. Do I sound like a nut? Probably.
to I'll just throw this in because we haven't mentioned it yet, which is also climate change. And Taurus, this is very much part of the Taurus experience. And the earth is becoming inhospitable to making food, as you said, like food issues, food scarcity. People are growing their own food, they're taking charge of it, which I think is really beautiful and wonderful. It's like, yeah, buy local, go to your local farmers market, but also do, I don't know if
That's
anyway, we're
important. The local experiences. Yeah.
there's hopefully there's some there I see a lot in the news, and in people are trying to figure out all these like climate laws and this, that, and the other, and some are for it, some think it's a hoax, some some think it's the end of the world, but this is our earth, and this is the air we breathe, and we need to protect it and take care of it and take care of ourselves. And I think it's something, I'm hopeful that this will be a theme of the next year that people will really start taking seriously, and that we can come together in as humans and humanity to really work with and feel into Mother Earth as we do for ourselves by taking our shoes off and walking in the grass, or talking to a tree, or feeding ourselves a beautiful meal. So I'm optimistic.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm optimistic too. I mean, I'm looking forward to digging into this space personally. In my 12th house, I feel it coming on. Like I feel myself being drawn towards that. I do want to talk about some of the shadows of Jupiter in Taurus. Jupiter in Taurus can be very indulgent. It can also be very materialistic. There is going to be that side. I do feel like a lot about the rich getting richer when I see that Taurus in North Node Jupiter conjunction. There's like, and I do see that like materialism can be sometimes with the earth signs when there's a lot of earth. I just want, Taurus can be a very generous sign, and I hope that we see a lot of that, because it does seem like with Jupiter conjunct the North Node in Taurus, we've seen crazy inflation, and that's before Jupiter was even next to it. So it's like, are we going to be hitting an all-time high in inflation? I mean, and if so, maybe, ultimately that will be a good thing, because hopefully the bubble will burst. But it looks like with Jupiter conjunct the North Node, there's a chance of food being sky high, all those Taurian themes being sky high. But like, yes, some people are making a lot of money during that transit, but prices are also really going up on a lot of things. You see, so that is one aspect of it that I'm a little bit nervous about. And it's an indulgent, it's a very indulgent kind of transit potentially as well. But I guess that those are really the only shadow qualities, right, of Jupiter, is like,
Well, overindulgence. I mean, like, and also the opposite of overindulgence is like an anemia, or anorexia is like total denial, right?
well,
So,
hoarding, right? Hoard material.
yeah, or like giving everything away so that you don't have. There's like,
Right.
you've like away all of your possessions and you're left with nothing, or maybe that's the point of it, right? But so yeah, it can go, there's always the polarity. It can go all the way to like weight gain, and like just like over, as you say, hoarding, overeating, overindulgence, like just more, and then, or complete, I don't want anything,
Right.
like, so
Interesting. So it'll be an interesting journey to watch Jupiter through this. But all in all, in our charts, we can always, whatever's going on, if you look to where Venus is and where Jupiter is transiting, that's usually where the most grace is. And, I mean, you have to recognize the blessing to receive it, right? And so I think it's good to like get to know in your chart where that is and start cultivating a lot of
Yeah.
gratitude in that area, because I think Jupiter responds to that,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. All right, love.
All right. I have some weird little things on the bottom of my screen that I don't usually see. I don't know why they're here, like a microphone, a camera. Can you see me right now?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. So I guess everything is fine. I don't know. Okay. We shall see if it posts. Great
All right.
talking to you. Maybe we'll come back and talk about the new moon before the new moon in
Yeah.
Taurus or something.
Yeah. 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 Very good.
All right.
All right. Talk to you
Talk to
later.
you later. Bye. Oh, call me for a reading, everybody. If you want a reading, my books are open and I would love to read for you.